Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my journey across the Arcane River. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a few things. It won't be very gameplay oriented because we've done a lot of the gameplay things in the previous parts, and right now we're kind of in a weird spot in the progression where a lot of it is now focused on training and on farming. So in this part, I'm mostly going to be giving a recap at first, and then I'll be spending pretty much the rest of the video just talking about how I'm planning on progressing at this part of the game, and explain to you guys how exactly I am farming my money to be able to progress my gear and push those levels so that I can clear the bosses later down in this series. So let's start off with the gear. Not really much has changed since the last part. I didn't really change any of my potentials, nor did I change any of my flames or anything like that, or Starforcing. As you know, we already had some of the biggest upgrading events that we could have had. So I really don't want to spend my money off of an event when I know that there are probably going to be more events coming up. So pretty much my gear hasn't really changed since the last video, so if you are interested in seeing my gear, check out the end of the previous video and you should be able to see what my gear is at the moment. The main change that I had regarding my gear is probably my Arcane Symbols. You can see here I'm currently level 237, which is a pretty big gap since the last part, and I'll explain to you guys how I got to this point in this level so quickly, because I believe it took me about a week to get this many levels, so yeah, I'll explain that to you guys in a bit. But for the most part, we've got to level 237, and the reason for this is because I really wanted to get to 235 as soon as I could after getting my Meso gear. We wanted to go for this Esfera Arcane Symbol and of course the Morass one along the way. This will give us extra damage and also the extra Arcane Force that we need to do our dailies, and just the extra damage will always help with training. Right now, my experience and my level doesn't really mean anything anymore for me, but having these extra symbols will definitely add up in the future. Another gain that I'm going to be having on this character quite soon is having enough coins to buy a reinforced ring from the Gollux shop. So over the last couple of months, I managed to get almost 450 coins from hard Gollux, and once I reach 450, I'll be able to buy the reinforced ring. So this is the ring that you can get from the shop. You can only buy this once a week, but for me, I'm probably only going to be able to buy one at all. And the point of this is because it's one of the best rings in the game, and I do plan on making use out of the reinforced set. So getting the ring and then the pendant later on to be able to get the extra damage will be very nice. And I'm looking forward to being able to use this as my main damage gear instead of using some of the other rings that might not be so good. For example, this Silver Blossom ring and the Treasure Hunter John's ring isn't very good for damage, but they are fine to use as drop gear, but this reinforced ring will definitely be used as damage. Another gain that I got from this character that is sort of part of my equipment is my familiars. For one of my familiars, I actually managed to hit a 15% IED line, so this will add a good amount of IED for me, and because I don't have any IED lines across my secondary weapon or emblem, this extra IED line will help a lot. And yeah, so hopefully I can find another card that will give me another 15% or maybe more IED. Thankfully, because I'm in Esfera and in Morass now, these guys actually drop familiar cards, so I've been opening them whenever I get them. I haven't hit anything so far, but fingers crossed I'll be able to get a 15% IED card. Once I get the second one, I might consider opening up the third slot, but this is quite difficult because you'll need to collect 10 badges, and I'm quite a ways away from getting 10 badges, as you can see. I haven't started progress on pretty much any of them, and I've only got the Von Leon badge that I got many parts ago. Anyway, that's pretty much all of my gear updates up to this point. Now I want to talk to you guys, and the main focus of the video being how do I farm, how did I level up, and why did I do it the way that I did. So the first thing that I want to mention, of course, the most important thing, is my Meso and drop gear. So in the previous video and the previous event, we had a double miracle time, which allowed us to have twice the chances of getting our accessories up into the legendary tier. And I pushed all my accessories as a priority to legendary just so that I could roll these lines. So there's two lines I need to talk about before we go any further, which are Meso obtained and item drop rate. So Meso obtained is pretty straightforward. For each of these lines that you get, it increases the amount of Mesos you get from each bag that drops from mobs. This particular line stacks up to 5 times across your equipment, so I have 5 different rings and face accessories that have this line. So you can see here I've got one on my earring, 2 of my iron face accessory, and the last 2 are on my rings. So that puts me at 100%, which is the cap for equipment. You can get even more Meso obtained from things such as your inner ability. So for me, I've got 20% Meso obtained on my inner ability, which actually stacks with the equipment. And you can also use the Phantom Legion block to give you just that little bit more as well. I believe at like level 200 it gives you 4% Meso obtained, which is, you know, extra bit of Meso. There are some other buffs you can also use and other consumables that can give you Meso obtained. The first one being wealth acquisition potions. You can craft these if you have the recipe for them using juniper berry seed oils, which are these ones. You can get these from harvesting the gold plants around the map whenever you see them, and you have a chance of getting these. And I believe 10 of these bottles will make 3 wealth acquisition potions. So this will increase your Meso and drop rate actually by 20%. Another way to also get more Meso obtained for each bag that you get is by using these Legion coupons. You can use Legion wealth coupons. These are probably the way that I'm going to be using my Legion coins the most. You can see already I've already bought 4 of them because I've been using these to farm myself as well. And these give you another 50%, which is amazing. And it lasts for 30 minutes, and you can pretty much just train while using this to get a lot of money while you are training. So moving on into the next line, which is the item drop rate line. This is just as important because it increases the chances of you getting the Meso bag as an actual drop. When you kill mobs, the drop rate of a Meso bag isn't guaranteed, but after a certain point, every single mob will drop one, and that's the point that you want to hit. I believe the percentage that you need to get is somewhere between 66 and 70, so having about 70% drop rate should be enough to guarantee every single mob that you kill dropping a Meso bag. So for me, I actually have 4 pieces of drop gear, so you can see my pendant, my 2 rings, and my second pendant, which is where the pendant of the spirit is currently sitting. So in my inventory, I have another drop pendant. You only need technically 3 of these because you have Holy Symbol to compensate for the rest of it, which will put you a little bit over 70%. So for me, I'm actually almost 80% here. And that's enough to guarantee a Meso bag, but you can always go for more drop lines so you have higher chances of getting things such as node stones, droplets, and that sort of stuff. But for me though, my main focus right now is just to get Meso bags, so I don't mind taking away some of my drop rates so then I can get this pendant of the spirit in so I can get more XP. So that's pretty much the equipment and consumables part of training when it comes to Meso farming. Let's move on to talking about how I actually Meso farm. The first thing that you need to think about when you Meso farm is you really want to be able to do it on a wild totem. You'll be able to find the wild totems under events and then Maple reward point shop, and you can buy them for 1800 reward points. You get 15 of them a month. So these allow you to train on pretty much double efficiency for 2 hours, and if you can afford these, it's very highly recommended that you use these while you're training and while you are farming money. So when you use these totems, you'll be able to get an item in your inventory that looks pretty much like your other totems that you have, and you'll also get a skill inside of your beginner tab. And what you'll be able to do is whenever you use that skill in your beginner tab, it will increase the spawn rate of your map. So of course I won't be able to use it right now, so I'll put a clip here of me just using the totem while I train, and you can see here that the spawn rate is a lot faster, so the monsters come back and respawn quicker, and also there's a lot more of them. So this is as efficient as you get when it comes to trying to get... So this is about as efficient as you can get when it comes to spawning monsters on your map. Now naturally, when you have a lot more monsters on your map that spawn faster, you'll be able to kill a lot of them a lot faster and you'll be able to make a lot of money. And this is pretty much how I've been training since level 229. I've been using these totems as often as I could in 2-hour increments, and then I could train for those 2 hours or farm for those 2 hours and just pick up as many Meso bags and try to be able to clear the map as efficiently as possible. Thankfully, during this event of ours, we got a sherbet pet. So for those who don't know, the sherbet is a vacuum pet, and he will kind of just take everything around an area for you, and you don't need to go out of your way to loot things. He will kind of pick up a lot of the bags that float around, even on platforms above and below you to some extent. So for me, using both sherbet and the wild totem at the same time, and then trying to use as many of the Meso multipliers as I could, such as my wealth acquisition potion and of course my drop gear, it really started adding up, and you can see here I have almost 12 billion. This is a lot for a beginner character, and a lot of it just came from training. I didn't go out of my way to farm the money pretty much. I just wanted to train, get the levels to get to Esra in the first place, but along the way I made plenty of Meso. For most classes, what you want to try to do is you want to try to find maps that you can one-shot in, And as long as you can one-shot in most maps, your rates are probably going to look like between at least 400 to 500 mil an hour clean. So when I say clean, I mean without any coupons, without any wealth acquisitions. Most classes can reasonably get between 400 and 500. If your class isn't a very good mobber, it might be closer to 350, but there's not much you can do about that. Maybe you can find a map that's better for you if you're getting rates that are about 350 an hour. But you can definitely aim for 400 an hour, and that's a pretty comfortable amount of Meso you can get per totem. So across each of my totems that I farm clean, I get about 800 mil for the totem, and then if I have the multipliers, I can get upwards of 1 bill a totem. I think in some of the maps I actually managed to make almost 1.5 bill across the whole totem, which was one of the Latchland maps. Unfortunately now I have quite easily overleveled the Latchland map, so I won't be able to farm there anymore, so I'm taking a little bit of a penalty on my rates for the time being while I train in Arcana. So hopefully that all explains the things that you need to take into consideration when you are training and when you are farming. And I wish you guys all the best of luck to do as many totems as you can stand or can be bothered doing, so then you can get the money and the XP that you can use to reach your goals. Now for me, I have some pretty high goals because I am trying to clear easier Lucid on a solo progression character, so inherently I'm going to need to be able to push my gear quite far to be able to clear those bosses. The first thing I want to really talk about, if you guys have stuck around this long and past all the boring stuff about farming and training, is how I'm going to take advantage of some of the big events coming up. The first thing I need to talk about as of making this video is actually the Shining Starforce event. For those who don't know, on the 24th of July 2022, we're going to have an event called Shining Starforce, which is the best Starforce event that we've had pretty much ever, where we're having a 30% off, which we had a little bit a while ago, combined with a 5, 10, 15 event. So basically, every single Starforce attempt is going to be 30% cheaper, and the stars from 5 to 6, 10 to 11, and 15 to 16 are going to be a 100% chance of success. With these two events combined, everybody in the server is going to make insane amount of gains. And I really want to make sure I can spend as much as I can on this event because there's probably not going to be another event I can match the gains on. This is why I've put so much emphasis on training alongside my Meso gear and all those other multipliers, because all this money is going to be put into some of the best gear I can make on this character, pretty much for the rest of the series. Now the question comes, what exactly do I have to even Starforce or upgrade? I can't do Lotus at the moment because I'm not strong enough. And honestly, the biggest blocker for me is actually the pre-quest. I haven't even done the pre-quest to do these bosses, so I should probably get these out of the way, but honestly, I'd rather just farm. I want to get the money to use on this Starforcing event, and then I'll try to do Lotus and Damien afterwards. So inherently what that means is that I won't be able to get any Absolab gear at all. So what do I use? What do I Starforce? I can only Starforce certain things so far because you don't want to Starforce your Von Leon gear, because you will lose 1 star and it only goes up to 20 anyways. You kind of lose out on the value. What exactly can I use? I could use my CRAs. I could try pushing them, which is honestly a fine path for me to go because CRAs are basically best in slot. But I don't think it's particularly fun. I want to try something different. I don't know if anybody else in the server has had this thought of not using the CRA set, because honestly CRA is one of the best, and the reason for this is because they have 2 pieces, the top and the bottom, so you're effectively getting 2 sets of potentials. The only other things that you can wear in these slots are overalls, so you're losing out on 1 whole potential slot. But what if I'm crazy? What if I just want to do something anyway, just for the sake of trying something new? I thought about this for a bit and I theory crafted with a few of my friends, and we decided to try something crazy with this character, and we're going to try to use the Japanese set. For those who don't know what the Japanese set is, it's the items that drop from Ranmaru. There are a total of 8 pieces. You've got the shoe, the glove, the shoulder, cape, armor, hat, belt, and weapon. So these are 8 pieces, but the special thing about this set is if you get the Akechi weapon, you can either buy it from the Akechi shop or you can get it as a drop, a very rare drop from Akechi. You can actually get the 9 set bonus because the weapon counts as 2 parts of the set. Now if you look at all these set bonuses, there's a lot of things going on, but the thing I wanted to look at the most was the amount of sheer attack power you get from this whole set. If you look at all this and add it together, it gets to almost 150 attack. On top of that, you do get a decent amount of IED, some amount of boss damage, and for some reason they give you crit damage on the 9th set. There's a lot of things going on with this set that looks pretty good. Another thing that's actually crazy about this set is the fact that the weapon itself is actually on the same tier as Absolab. So for me, I'm going to be using the pistol, but you can see here between the two Absolab and the Akechi weapon, the base stats are the same. across the board. So the attack power, the strength, the dex, boss damage, ignore defense, they're all the same. And the thing about this set too is this weapon actually also gets boss flames. So this effectively is an Absolab weapon. It's just a different kind of Absolab weapon that only works with a specific set. So I was thinking to myself, why don't I just use this set? If I use the 9 set bonus, including this weapon, I can keep this gear pretty much indefinitely until I clear all the content that I need to clear. Because this weapon carries me, and the 9 set bonus honestly isn't even that bad. The thing that puts people off this set is because the items itself doesn't get very good flames, and they're only level 150, so then you lose out on that extra 1% per potential line compared to 160 items. But the upside for this is that I basically have infinite fodders, and it's very easy to actually even fodder into, because all of these are level 150, and there's so many 140 items. Just the Pencilier set basically carries your Starforce, so you can transfer pretty much anything into these slots. And I really want to try out this new concept of trying this Japanese set, because I don't think anyone really uses this, because honestly, it just looks ugly to use, because they don't have boss flames, there's 9 parts to it, the weapon is kind of random and takes ages to get from the shop itself, because you need 20 coins and you get like, what, 3 to 4 a week? It's very slow, but I don't have anything else that I can Starforce. It doesn't make sense for me to full send my CRAs. I can have like 21 star CRAs. At the end of the day, the rest of my gear is going to be crap. I wanted to try something a little bit different and see what I can do with this Japanese set. I haven't really decided on how I'm going to work around all the Starforcing things and potentialing and any of my endgame plans. Like what happens when I want to replace them? What happens when I want to replace the belt because the belt is kind of trash? What do I do with all these items? I don't know. Honestly, I have no clue what I'm doing with this character anymore. But I know for a fact that when I saw this and when this idea was brought up to me, I knew that this was my destiny. I am going to go and full send this 9 set Japanese set just to try it. I don't think anyone else has really done this for their solo progression, because usually you want to try to get everything else strong enough to clear Lotus and Damien and then just go straight into Absolab. But with this set in mind, I think I can skip Absolab completely. And given this Shining Starforce event, I might even be able to Starforce these gears quite high. Because I have so many fodders, realistically I could get really lucky on my Pencilier gear and I could get them straight to 21, depending on how much money I have left over. And with 21 Pencilier gear, I can transfer it straight onto these gears and they can go potentially also to 21. It's a crazy thought. It's probably not a good idea, but I really want to try it. Anyway guys, the second half of this video, after the training part, I've completely just rambled on. I don't know if any of this made sense. I'm probably just going to keep it in the video of me just going on about this. But yeah, hopefully you guys are excited to see this, because I think that this is a crazy idea. I just want to really do something new, and who knows, maybe it works. If it doesn't work, well, worst case, I have fodder for Absolab. I can always go back to Absolab. I already have the CRA gear, even though I'm technically replacing it with this overall, but that doesn't matter because I have it created. I have them at Legendary with decent flames. I can always go back to it. All of this is just going to be an experiment. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day and are looking forward to this crazy idea that I'm having. And I appreciate the support that you guys have provided me up to this point so far. Take care, and I'll see you on Shining Starforce. If you guys have stayed until the very end of this video, I will be streaming my Shining Starforce adventures on this character. So do keep an eye out for my stream that will happen sometime during the day, most likely around reset. You can join me on my YouTube stream, and I will most likely upload that stream anyway, so even if you can't catch it, you should be able to have the VOD of me Starforcing all my gear. Take care guys, I'll see you guys in the next one.